Okay. Am I audible for everyone? Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry, I was a little late. Started. So we'll directly get into the talk. Any questions from yesterday's class? Any questions from yesterday's class? How many people are there? Check. How many people including me? Sohail, are you there? No, volunteers are there. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so we spoke about feature set yesterday. So we'll continue. I think, yeah, let's spend more details. So let's get more serious today. Okay, hope you all remember what is a feature set. So what is a market segment definition? The next, once you know the feature set, you have to discuss the market segment definition. So what is a market segment? So any examples for market segment? Yesterday we spoke about a mobile example, right? So what sort of market segment you can think for a mobile?
The demand of the product in the market.
Okay. Yeah, correct. Can you give me more specific? That is a demand, that is separate market segment difference. So who is actually your target customer? For designing a product, you should know who is the buyer, right? There are phones, what is the cost range of a phone? What is the minimum price and maximum price for a phone, for a smartphone? Any examples? Sorry? Voice was breaking.
Minimum is 10,000, sir.
10,000, okay, maximum.
Maximum will be in lakhs, as in Apple mobile.
Very good, very good. So any product is in car. So bike. So what is the product? You are familiar with the bikes or scooters, motorbike, you are familiar with motorbike or cars. What example you want? Apart from mobile, let's take one more example. What do you want to take? Car, bike, TVs. What example you want to take? Pick up one more example. Cars, let's take a car. So what is the minimum value of a car?
7 lakhs.
7 lakhs? No, that's too high. 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs, you can get a car, right? Not if the 800, I don't know still business or not, but 7 lakhs, you get a decent car. Less than that, also get entry level car, what you call, right? Basic car, just four wheels and one steering wheel. It may not have AC, it may not have music system. That's just 4 doors, 4 wheels, and one steering wheel. That's all. Can make a car at 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs, right? Right? So that is one market. What is the highest price for a car?
Crores.
1 crore, 2 crore?
Crores.
Crores. Correct. So you have from few lakhs, 4, 5 lakhs to 1 crore, 2 crore, right? So you should know who is the market segment. You are selling to a film star or business magnate, they will buy only crores of rupees. No, common man, you and me will not buy that kind of a car. Right? So we'll buy, even if you want to buy buying a car, it's difficult, first of all. If you want to buy, you look at 5 lakhs and 7 lakhs, then you look for a loan, right? House also same way. You can construct a 1 room kitchen house also, one hall bedroom plus 1 kitchen and toilet, right? That's the minimum house you can construct. But you can construct big bungalow, multi-storied bungalow like Anil Ambani, you can construct. Right? You can build a small hut also, you can construct. So cost also changes. So cost changes. So market segment, that's called market segment. So talking about car, 5 lakhs car is for a for a entry level market. For somebody who's earning 10 lakhs, you can buy a 5 lakhs car, maybe after some time, right? The salary itself is 2 lakhs, you cannot buy a 5 lakhs car, correct? Right? And somebody is earning crores of rupees, like a movie actors or politicians, or this is Arvind Ambani or Sachin Tendulkar, or who else is a business magnate? Amitabh Bachchan, like, or Andhra movie star who is famous. Who's the number one hero? Chiranjeevi, right? Chiranjeevi has a car, you can buy crores of rupees, correct? So the market segment, that's what it's called. It's called entry level, mid level, high level, super high end. You can define the market segment. It depends on who is the user, correct? So any configuration is based on mobile phones, TVs, cars, bike, any electronic product, whatever you saw, that all depends on the market segments. So you have to define your market segment first. Okay. So based on that only, you can trade off on the features, pricing and everything. So it should be very important. So if you can design a car for 1 lakh, you can create a new market segment. Remember, there used to be a car called Tata Nano. Got shut off few years before, correct? This is because it had a factory. How many of you remember of a car called Tata Nano? Hello? What happened? Raised hand. Okay, 2 people raised hand. Very good. Okay, good. So Tata Nano was for about 1 lakh rupees or something, but they were not successful for whatever the reason, right? There are reports the car was burning when driving on the highways, whatnot, right? So maybe you can overcome. If you know what is the problem, you can define that as a problem, right? So there is a market segment definition. You have to define who's the customer, what is the customer, what is his needs, and everything. And market potential. So what do you understand within the market potential? You can always, when you ask a question, you can always, if you know, you can answer. You can refer ChatGPT or you can refer Google. We are all learning now, right? So what is the market potential? What do you think is a market? You know what is a market? You know what is called potential? You club and tell me what is the market potential.
Whether the product can last in the market for long or not.
Yes, that is one thing, one aspect. Now, how many people will buy? There's a market potential, right? Let's say I launch a 1 lakh rupees car against a 7 lakh rupees car. So it has to be economical, you have to make profits. Any business you do, you want to make profit. Let's say you make pickles at home and sell. Simplest of the business, right? Avakaya pickle. So from Andhra, you know what is avakaya pachadi, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Very
sir.
good. So you want to make a pachadi and sell 1 kilogram of avakaya pachadi. What will be the price for that? What is the price in the shop? Any rough figure. So 10 rupees, 50 rupees, 100, 200, 500, 600, 1000. What is the range for 1 kilo of avakaya pachadi or avakaya pickle? We don't know other regions for them.
It may be around 400.
Yeah, 400. Very good. Okay. So if you can sell that at good quality at 200, we spoke about this before, right? We can sell the same product in a good quality at 350 rupees, let's say, right? So will more people buy or no?
Yes, sir.
But quality should be good, right?
Yes, sir.
So still you should make profit. If more people buy, it will make more profit, right? More volume, it gets more cheap. It's economics, right? What is the demand and supply? Have you read any economics courses? You know what is the law of demand and supply? Anyone knows what is the law of demand and supply? Okay, can Google and search, right? Write it down. What is the law of demand and supply? Okay, write it down. Check it. Okay. So that's based on potential. Because the demand is more, the supply is more, and the demand will be more, right? And you will be able to sell at cheaper price. Initially, you may not get many buyers, so it will take more time for you to make profits. That's okay. If you know your product is very high quality and your longevity high, Chavakaya pickle can come for 1 year, if you can say, then people will definitely buy for 350 rupees. Still come only for 1 week, then many people may not buy, right? So that is called market potential. And study of various customer asks. What are the various customer requirements, right? Let's say you take a mobile phone. What does the customer want? Let's say you're selling a phone for 10,000 rupees. What does the customer want from that phone? You're selling a phone for 50,000 rupees. What does the customer expect from that phone? Your features are different from one budget to next budget, right? So clothing, jewelry, or whatever, right? Imitation jewelry, you would buy imitation jewelry, right? Because you cannot Wood is very expensive today, right? It's becoming expensive day by day. So how do you do that? Okay. So you have to understand the customer need. If you don't understand the customer need and build a product, become waste. Let's say you make a bitter ground pickle. You know what is a bitter gourd, right? Right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
What is bitter gourd in Telugu?
Kakarkaya, sir.
Very
Kakarkaya.
good. Kannada, anybody with Kannada knowledge? What is in Kannada? Nobody in Kannada. Yesterday there was one girl. Okay. Okay. So you should know if you make a pickle out of the kakarkaya, right? How many people will buy? Not buy, right? Same as avocado pickle or lemon pickle or tomato pickle, they may not buy, right? They may buy, but in small volume will be there, right? So you understand what does the customer want. Let's say you make a pickle with beetroot. Will people buy?
No, sir.
Why they will not buy?
It is not stored for long.
Right? That is one reason. Beetroot is very sweet. Correct? How can you add, you need pickle, you have to add a lot of spices, right? Michi powder, you have to add a lot of michi powder, correct? Will it work? Beetroot is very sweet, correct? So the carrot pickle. Have you heard of carrot pickle? No, right?
Yes, sir.
No,
Addiction, sir.
Wow. Who said yes?
Sohail.
Okay. Did you eat soil? How does it look like? How does it taste?
Sir, sir, it is in sweet in taste, but sir, because the spices are same as pickle and carrot, sir.
Okay.
But sir, taste is different because sir, it is in sweet.
Okay. I don't know. Okay. Good. Okay. Good. So how many people will buy carrot pickle? No. Sohail. To make a carrot pickle against a mango pickle or a lemon pickle.
Sir,
Right,
less
it's a-
people are
Yeah,
buying.
exactly. So what will sell more? Your mango pickle or tomato pickle or lemon pickle is a highest seller, right? Mango is first, correct? You can make you have to do a market survey. You have to understand the customer need. That's what it says, customer asks. So this is a product definition phase. It's called strategy phase. What is the strategy? Because you follow cricket, right? Let's say you have to defend 200 runs. Sorry, if you don't know cricket, it's a very bad example. Assuming I want to do a survey, like if you all don't mind, I'll set up a survey next 2 days and want to understand what do you like, cricket, food, movies are easy examples to explain, right? All of you don't like cricket or any sports, right? Any sport, for example, you know, they become easy to explain any concept, not just cricket, tennis or football, any sport, right? So let's say you have to go score 5 goals, right? Your opponent has scored 5 goals, you want to score that, or you cricket score 220 runs in 20 overs, you want to score 221 runs. So you should have a strategy. You have to hit right from the first ball, like I told you in other class, right? You should plan every 5 hours. You should have some strategy. It's called strategy, right? You should have a strategy. Or if you go to elections, again, sorry to give this example, I'm not hurting any politicians here. If you're supporting any political party, please kindly pardon me. Let's say there's a lot of freebies, right? Political parties say, I'll give mixie free, grinder free. This many 5 kgs rice free. I'll give a dhoti, a sari free, right? So then people vote for them, right? I'll give you 5,000 rupees cash. Whatever the promises they make, people vote for them, whichever party, right? Almost all political parties, they do that, right? So you have to, that's also kind of business, right? Unfortunately, education is kind of business, right? So everything is a business, unfortunately, right? We don't want it to be, but it has become like that, right? Any god, any temple has become a business, right? You have a darshan for 500 rupees darshan, 1,000 rupees darshan, and free darshan, right? And most of the big temples we have there. I don't want to name temples, the word controversy, but there are even small temples, medium, small temples, you may have priorities, right? So you have to give more money and have darshan of God very quickly, right? Correct or not?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So it's more or less like a business, right? Unfortunately, but that is the reality. We have to accept it. We cannot be different from common man. We are all common people, so we have to accept the reality, right? Otherwise, it will not work. Right? So there is a strategy phase. You have to strategize and define all this. This is all part of product definition. First thing, okay? You define the product. Then what happens? The management of MGMT stands for management. What is the management means? What? The company. Who's a model? What does the term management means? Any IT company or any electronics company. What does the term management mean? Please answer it. Right or wrong doesn't matter. Okay.
Sir, so they have different sections like account.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Technology related to technology, and
Very good.
these all are, sir, they manage.
So who manages a company typically? Is a management team. Who are there typically? Okay, let me answer. CEO, Chief Executive Officer, Chief Technology Officer, Vice President of HR, right? So there are people like that. There's a team, they call management team, we call them sales and marketing people, right? Business people, right? Technically, the CTO, Chief Technology Officer, Chief Executive Officer. There's a board will be there, right? Every company will have a board of directors, correct? Have you heard the name board of directors?
Yes, sir.
So there is a management team. So they have to approve your project and they have to fund your project, right? They'll see what is the, if you make project, what does it cost? How much manpower you need? What is the material you need? Right? And they'll look at what are the customers, what price the competitor, who's your cost competitor, all these things they will have to look at, right? That's called planning. It's called product. We'll come to the next phase, planning phase. We'll come to that. What is this? So management has to approve. Initially, we will make a plan for the product based on all these feature set, market segment, market potential, study of various customer ask. You do a come with a presentation or a proposal, which the management approves it, then so you can go ahead. Or if they don't see any, cannot make a profit, it take 10 years to make a profit. So forget about it, let's not spend money, right? Correct, right? We all have limited money, everyone has limited resources, right? So I have 500 rupees today. So I have to write from morning 6 to night 12 o'clock, I only 500 rupees to send. So you prioritize and spend accordingly. I'll spend only on 100 rupees on my food, right? 20 rupees on my entertainment, whatever it is. No, you just budget based on that, correct? I'm assuming you have 500 or 100 rupees, then you spend even less than that. You spend 15 rupees on the food, or you go to a friend's place and you go as a guest and eat food on that day, for example, right? Correct? So everything is based on a budget. Your house also is based on budget, right? Let's say you ask for a dress to your parent. Let's say I want to buy a nice shirt or sari or frock or whatever, right? Whatever the dress. It costs 500 rupees, right? What your parent may say, this month I don't have money. We'll try during some of the time when you get a bonus from the company. Correct or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, very often it happens in lower middle class families like us. I also came from that kind of a family, right? So many times cannot buy a dress for Diwali, cannot buy crackers for Diwali. It so happens, it's okay. It's been like India is that kind of a country. It's not a poor man's land, right? That's why Dr. Kalam says India lives in the rural areas, right? So it is okay. It's a reality. We have to accept that. So we have to work hard and succeed, and so that we can celebrate Diwali in a grand style in one day. We can make our parents happy. We can make costliest dresses, big silk saree you can buy, silk dress you can buy for your parents and sisters and brothers, right? So you have to become successful for that, right? How you can become successful? Getting skills. Then money comes automatically, as I told, right? You get the skills. Okay. So the business also is like that. Okay. So then what happens is the product, this is the product definition phase. Then the product planning phase. So what is the budget? So what is the budget? Let me ask, what is the budget? Have you ever heard them? You go to your family, right? Your father or mother using a respective word budget in the local language. Please answer.
Budget means investment of money on product.
Not necessarily. To run a home, let's say you have a home, right? Let's say your parents are running a home. So they need X amount of money. He's getting his salary is X, let's not take absolute numbers. Salary is X and his monthly expenditure is Y. Okay. So run, you have one brother, one sister, one father, one daughter, and his parents. So let's say there are 6 people in the family. He's earning X amount of
daily need expenditure, sir.
Yeah.
Oh.
Your income and expenditure, right? So he's earning X amount of money. Let's say his expenditure is Y. Minimum expenditure is Y. You're not going on vacation. You're not traveling a flight. You're not going in AC train. You're always going a public transport bus or unreserved compartment. Let's assume all those. The common man. India's common man. Let's assume, right? Like you and me, right? So how many times you go in the flight? Going to flight is a dream for us, right? How many of you have not traveled in the flight?
Me.
Very good, Sohail. Anybody else? You will have traveled in the flight. Wow.
No, sir.
Okay, 3 people raise hand. Okay. That's good. That's how India is basically, right? But we go in bus or local trains and those are passenger trains and things like that, right? So that's because why? That's why budget constraint. Your father makes only X amount of money. Your Y has to be less than X, correct?
Yes, sir. X is greater than Y.
Yeah. So if Y is greater than X, what happens?
Sir, borrow.
Debt.
Debt, right? Correct. So you cannot borrow, right? You can borrow 1 month, next month, what will you have to return back that money, right? But Y minus X, you have to return. But your income is still X, correct? Then you have to spend less, you have to return back. You don't return, that person will come and fight in front of the house, correct? Have you seen that in your village? Let's say you don't pay rent, but let's say you are in a rented house, for 2 months you don't pay rent. So what happens? Hello?
The house owner will kick out half us.
Correct. You'll throw all your dresses, utensils, TV, whatever you have, right? Everything will be on the road. He'll give warning to you once or twice. Still, if you don't listen, everything will be thrown on the road. Okay. So that
Yes,
you
sir.
also,
Sir, in COVID time, sir, it is happen more, sir.
yeah, correct. And still it is happening. In villages, it do happen, right? People borrow money on loan with high interest, but they are desperately need money, right? You keep some utensils or something in the pawn broker, what you call the local Marwadi or whatever, right? You go to on the silver vessels or brass vessels, you keep it and get some money. And if you're not able to get that the money, he'll take that item with him, right? The silver or gold item or the brass item, whatever you give the vessel, he'll take it, right? Have you seen that happening? Right? So budget is important. So you should spend within the what is your income, right? So you have to plan. Corporate also, business, same thing happens. So you have to spend within the budget. Okay, so that's why you have to do something called budgeting. India has also budget. Who's the finance minister of India?
Nirmala Sitharaman.
Very good. So she does present a budget sometime in February 1st or something, right? Have you heard a budget speech on TV? Yes or no? State budget or central budget? I mean, state government also has a budget. Have you seen any of the budget? What do they do in the budget? Look at it or talk to your parents. How do they do budgeting, right? Or you let's say you want to conduct an event, your birthday party. Your father give you 1,000 rupees. Let's assume, right? Assume. So how will you plan? You have to plan within the 1,000 rupees, right? You cannot spend 1,500 because you have only 1,000 rupees with you, correct? So you'll plan all your events based on that. Okay, schedule, same thing. What is the schedule means? What does the schedule means? Feel free to guess. You don't know. Yeah.
Doing things according to time.
Yes, your exam. If the exam start at 9 o'clock, it ends at 12 o'clock. Let's say you give the answer sheet after 12:10. What the examiner will do? Vigilator examiner.
He won't take the paper.
Yes, correct. So you have to do within time, correct? You're launching a rocket. You spoke about rocket launching from Sriharikota. So there'll be a countdown process, correct? You would have seen, right? Rocket launching Sriharikota. They start counting from 2-3 days or weeks before. They come 1, 0, say at 0 exactly it has to lift off. Correct? Just a game of cricket, there's a timeout, right? They'll start counting the time. 10, 9, 8, 10 comes to 0, the bowler will start bowling. Correct? Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
So project also has a schedule. Like you have a schedule. I get up at 6 a.m. I bath at 7 a.m. I eat breakfast 7:30. At 8 o'clock, I'll be in college. And evening 9:30 p.m. I'll go to bed and sleep. Correct? That is a schedule. Similarly, a project also will have a schedule. So when you have to do what, right? Because there's a group of people working, don't defend the schedule, be a problem. Let's say in your house there are your grandmother is there. There are 4. She has 4 daughter-in-laws, and your mother is one of them. Okay, but grandmother has to tell which daughter-in-law has to do what. Somebody has to sweep the house. Somebody has to cook. Somebody has to cut the vegetables. Somebody has to clean the vessels. Somebody has to go to shop and buy something. So she has to assign the work accordingly, right? And they have to do within that particular time. So company also works very similar to that. It's like a joint family. How many of you live in joint families? Like with your uncles and aunts and grandparents. I used to live like that in my childhood. Okay, anyway, leave it aside, right? So schedule is what time you have to complete what and who does what. You have 10, like I will give you a house example, right? There are 4 daughter-in-laws and grandmother. She has to tell what time she has to do what time she has to go to shop, She'll tell exactly. If you don't tell, what happens? That your grandmother keeps quiet on a day. She's in Mauna Vrata. Some festival, she said, I'm not going to talk today. So people are, then what will happen to all the daughter-in-law? They will do what they think is correct, they will do. Then there'll be some confusion in the house. They'll fight among themselves. Who has to go to the shop, who has to do what, right? Correct? The same thing. So the management has to do the planning, scheduling, right? And future set planning also has to happen. We saw what is the future set yesterday. The future set planning has to happen, right? And it has to be approved. Okay. So it's called planning phase, right? So management approves a plan, budget, resourcing, and schedule. So it's called planning. Okay, is it clear? So we saw two phases: product plan definition and product planning. Okay,
Yes.
very good. Okay, so I'm going to give you one more assignment at this point of time. So we're going to review your assignments. What we discussed last week. We spoke about one problem and one solution for the problem, right? So we'll let you present that, right? So for now, for next assignment next week, let's say on Saturday. So there's one more assignment. So you have to assume any product, right? Assume any product of your choice. We know what is the product we already defined. Write a requirement specification for that. Right? Requirement specification. You know what is the requirement specification? All these things basically. All these things are required. You can search in Google or ChatGPT, right? But don't use ChatGPT for getting requirement specification. But try and use it to understand, right? What we'll do is you define, come with your own problem. I don't define. You define your product, and you do something called requirement specification. You can search in Google. It will give you templates and everything for requirement specification. Okay. So you have to write a requirement specification document. Getting the template from Google. Can be any template. You have to talk for 5 minutes. You have to present it for 5 minutes. So you decide how many slides you want, right? Whereas in a piece of, you don't have slides, you know how to use PowerPoint. You write in a paper and scan it and present it. That is also okay. But if you don't know use PPT, that is okay. No, you do it in PPT. Okay, your choice. Write in a piece of paper, scan it, and you can present it with from your Google Drive or whatever computer, right? From your mobile or. Right? There's an next assignment. You pick up your own problem statement. Write something called requirement specification. So this all contains of requirements. First two stages called requirement specification. Okay, so that you can get make your own template from the Google, and for define your own product, whatever product you want, any electronic product. Okay, and write a requirement specification for that. That's the next assignment. Okay, so 5 minutes. Each one of you have to present for 5 minutes. That's going to be on next Sunday. It's not even Saturday. Next Sunday, because we have 2 hours slot on Sunday, right? 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. next Sunday. Okay. Any questions?
Sir, the
Questions?
product can be anything. Like, is it existing also? Can we do about that?
Yeah, any product. Yeah, you can take a mobile phone or TV. Just 1 second. 1 second. Friends joining me. Yeah, let's go ahead. Right. So you have to write some sort of requirement specification. Pick up any product. It can be available in the market also. Need not be a new product, right? You need to learn, right? So for any product available in the market of your choice, we discussed so many products in one of the slides, right? Product. I showed you many products, right? So you pick up any product what you know, okay, and write a something called requirement specification based on this. You look at the requirement specification from template from the Google, download the any template from Google and write your own specification, and you have to present it for 5 minutes, and we'll ask you questions on that. Okay, that's the next week assignment. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So who's my volunteer here? Phil, and who else is there? So can you create that assignment in the Google Classroom?
Okay, sir.
10 marks. 10 marks is due before 2 p.m. next Sunday.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So that's what we'll have to do for next week. So can we do today's assignment? Can you want to present any problem, any solution? Correct? How many of you are ready? Let me stop my sharing. Stop sharing. Stop sharing. Let's start here. Okay. So you can share. Permissions are for sharing. Try sharing it. Who wants to share first? Amita, I see your name first. You're ready? Amita, can you make us a co-host? Amita, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so present. You'll be able to present now. Maybe as a co-host.
Okay, sir.
Next is Alekia. Alekia, be prepared. Ready. One way will go in the same. Alekia, Nika, Harika, Vaidyanathan, Guru Mohan. I see those names here. Go in the
Sir,
order.
I'm unable to share the
What does it?
PPT, sir.
What does it say?
Like I'm in the meet in the mobile phone, sir, so I'm unable to do that.
Mobile. Okay, yeah, mobile will be difficult. Okay, so let's see who wants to do next. So who's on Alekia? Are you in front of your computer?
No, sir, I'm on my mobile.
Oh, that's bad. How do you present from mobile? How should you present, right? If you know how to present mobile, you can present it. I don't mind.
No,
I
sir,
told
I
you-
don't know how to do in mobile.
What do we do? Is it in the classroom? Then I can present it. Is it in the classroom? Have you submitted in the classroom? Let me go to
Yes,
classroom.
sir,
And see.
I submitted in the classroom.
Yeah, I'll present it from the classroom. Okay, wait a second. Share it. Go to classroom. It's there. Classroom, see. Okay. Let's work. Same one. Right, it's refreshing. Okay. 10 people have submitted to the submit. Okay. So first you want to go. Whose name I call? Mamta, right? So we can take Mamta's presentation. Okay, so you're able to see?
Yes,
Mamta,
sir.
Go ahead, yeah.
Like as we know, farmers face a lot of losses, many losses due to various
One
reasons.
second. I'll put my speaker phone. 1 second.
Okay.
There's no noise. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
As we all know that farmers in India are facing so many losses due to various reasons. As far as I know, one of the main reasons is due to the unhealthy growth of the crops. Unhealthy growth of the crops, farmers are facing more losses. So, for the healthy growth of the crops, there should be certain amount of moisture, minerals, and the nutrients should be present in the soil. So, I think a product which can detect the amount of nutrients, minerals, and moisture, and what are the things needed for the growth of the plant. If it shows the content, so the farmer comes to know about how much minerals, nutrients are present, so he can grow the crops according to that.
Okay, very good.
That's
What is the
it.
solution? What is the solution?
The product which can detect the amount of content, and it will show the farmer how this example, the sodium is present in this amount, like that it will show, and will say him which crop is suitable for that soil, like
Hmm.
that.
Okay. So how it will show? What kind of product is that? Now, how does it show the moisture and those things and all, right? Sodium present, what you told, right?
Yes, sir.
How it will show?
Maybe some sensors.
Okay, then or where it will display? You have to show the results finally, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Did you think about it?
No, sir.
Okay. No problem. No problem. Very good. Very good. Right. So you have a solution, but you don't know how to implement it. Right. Very good.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So I'll give you 8 out of 10. Okay.
Yes, sir. Who wants to go next? Guru Mohan. Guru Mohan.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Present.
So if there is no financial assistance from family, relatives, and government, or from bank, how you will finish your BTech when you are in second year?
Very good.
So there is 3 possible solutions, sir. One is dropped out, and one more is by conducting tuition to the surrounding students, surrounding children who are surroundings to me.
Very good. Excellent.
Other one is the part-time job.
Very good. What type of
And by doing
what type of part-time job you'll do?
so it, when I am in C, perfect in C or Python, I can do internship in programming, sir.
Very good.
I get paid.
Okay.
I got the payment.
I'll give you 10 out of 10. Okay. Very good. Good idea. Good idea. Thank you. Okay, let's see who's next. Alekia. Alekia, yours.
Yes, sir. Sir, the problem is accidents are happening on highway roads. Because I have seen an accident that was for my neighbor's uncle. He died on he met with an accident. As he's driving in the right way also, there are some lorry drivers.
Hmm.
They met with an accident, and when asked why why the lorry driver did that, then the lorry driver said that he's doing the overtime work. And he's not having the proper sleep. So at the time of driving, while he was driving, he's sleeping. So
Okay,
he
agree.
skipped the accelerator, and then he met with an accident,
Very
and we lost our uncle.
Yeah. What is the solution?
So the solution would be there should be an alarm in the for the driver's seat that it shows the vigilance of the driver, whether he is in consciousness or not, whether he is sleeping or not, so that the alarm based on his vigilance, the alarm should ring, and at that time, if he is sleeping, if he is in unconsciousness, then the vehicle should stop.
Very good idea. Okay. How will you do that? A very good idea. I agree. But how will you detect that he's sleeping or not? And how do you stop the movement of vehicle? Very good idea. I agree. Need a product, but how will you implement it?
By using the infrared sensor
Okay.
To detect the vigilance of the driver.
How will you do that? How the sensor will get the vigilance of the driver? Little bit of detail. I want to know how much you need. It's a very good idea, but have you thought about in depth? If no, you say no, it is okay.
No, sir. I didn't.
Okay, very good, very good.
Okay.
I'll give you 8 out of 10 again. I said told Mamta, right? Very good idea, but now you have to keep working on this problem. We'll review it after 3 months or 6 months again. Okay.
Okay, sir.
You have to come with some solution also. Okay.
Okay.
Very good, very good. Very good idea. Okay, let's who's next? Gopika. Gopika, are you there? So, is Gopika there in the meeting? No? Sohel, she's not there? Hello,
No, sir.
okay. Harika,
Yes, Hari.
yeah.
My problem statement is many of the women are choosing the different types of sandals with the different heights. So my my problem statement is only single sandal with different heights. The proposed solution is by keeping the button at the end of the slipper or sandal, we can adjust the different types of. We can adjust it. We can use as a high heels or flats, vice versa. We can use it.
Hmm. Very good, okay. What is the solution?
By putting the button at the bottom of the sandal or slipper, we can use.
Very good idea, very good solution, but tell me a little about it. How do you do it?
By putting the buttons, if we put the button when we want that sandal at the high heels, we can walk. By
Okay.
walking on high heels, many women are getting leg pains and many things. So to reduce that, we can later we can change that by pressing the button. We can change that high heels into flats.
Right, I understand what you're trying to do, but how will you achieve it?
No ideas.
Okay, very good. So you have a good idea and good answer, but how do you execute it? You have to work on. Okay. I'll also give you 8 marks. Very good. Very good problem statement. Thank you, Alekia. Next. Jayvant. Is Jayvant there? Sohel?
No, sir.
Manasa. Manasa there?
Yes, sir.
What happened? Spell doesn't open for him. Not able to open. Manasa, something wrong. No.
It is not available, maybe, sir.
Yeah, I'm not able to open. Manasa, you want to present it? Manasa, are you in front of computer? Hello, Manasa. Hello. Okay, I'll skip. Chatting. What is the chat? Good afternoon. Yes, Manasa. Can you present it? Yes or no? I'll look at it offline otherwise. Okay, no problem. I think she has some trouble to talk. Let's move on. Niharika.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm getting your slide. Yeah. Go ahead.
Nowadays, the weather changes for time to time. It is very difficult for the farmers to dry their grains.
Hmm.
And the cost for the labor workers to dry the grains is too high. It costs nearly 1,500 per day.
Hmm.
So it is better to have a machine for the crops drying also, as the harvesting machine.
Hmm.
It is too better to have to have the both features in a single machine, that is harvesting and drying in one machine.
Okay. Are
So
there
that
machines
farmer,
are there machines available for harvesting separately and for
yes,
drying
sir.
separately today?
No, sir, there is no machine, sir.
Okay. So, okay, very good. Well, how will you do that machine? Do you know how to design such a machine?
I am researching about that, sir,
Very
and I
good.
am asking for my father to
Very
sketch.
good. So I'll also give you 8 out of 10. Very good idea. Okay.
Okay, sir, thank you, sir.
Very good. Very good. Who's next? Ashwini? Are you there, Ashwini?
Hariji,
Ashwini, can I open your PPT? Are you there?
sir, am I audible, sir?
You're audible. Yeah, you're breaking, but you can listen to you.
Sir, actually, women safety has become the utmost priority of the Indian government, considering the increasing of cases of crime against women. Actually, in today's women's safety is very important. So there are many safety apps for women which will ensure that they are not alone anywhere they go. The basics of most apps nowadays are similar. There is a user and he decided list of emergency contacts to alert and transmission of GPS determined location. But in my analysis, I found one problem with these apps, sir. I noticed is that they send messages to the registered numbers. But the point here is it is always not possible that our registered phone numbers people surrounded around us all the time. So somehow they need time to reach there. So it may take some time to them to reach, and there might be chances that
Ashwini, it's okay. We are doing very good. Please go ahead.
so. Sir, am I audible?
Hey, you are audible. You're doing very good problem. Tell me what is the solution?
So, so my solution is instead of only sending messages to the registered numbers, it is and to the nearest police station. We design an app such in which such a way when woman is in danger, she needs to press the mobile power button or any button which we preferred in the mobile, so that the mobile will connect to the server base of the respected network, sir, and it will uses the GPS location of that woman mobile, and it send messages with some beep sound to the nearer people to the location of the woman, so they will come and help the girl instead of the registered numbers or to the police stations. Actually, as it is required data connection, but when we see nowadays majority of people using smart mobiles, and somehow some people are using Geo mobiles which has internet access, so it will be work
Very good. Excellent.
Thank you,
Very
sir.
good, Ashwini. Very good thought. Very good. I'm going to give you a 10 out of 10.
Thank you, sir.
Who's is left over? Sonia. Sonia, are you there? Sonia. Hello.
Sir, maybe Sonia is not there.
Okay. So that's it. We are done. Okay. So some people are not done. What do we do with them?
Hariji?
Yeah.
Hariji, I submitted at 12 p.m., but I don't know. I need to hand in that. My assignment shows like missing. Now I'm seeing that I need to hand in. Now it will be done.
Yeah. Do it.
Sorry,
Now.
I don't.
Yeah, do it. I'll see it right now. Submit it.
I already submitted, Hariji. Can I explain what's my problem and
Let me see. Let me see. Let me see if we're getting it or not. Refresh the classroom. One second. What happened? Who is this? Who's speaking?
Monica President.
Monica. Okay, it's there here. Okay.
Now only I hand in, that's why it
Yeah.
will done.
So next time you have to submit on time. It shows done late actually, right? Click on this, it says it's late, correct?
Yes,
You have to submit it, okay? Next time submit on time so it doesn't become late.
I submitted it 12 p.m. but I don't know. I need to hand in after that.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
will be
that's okay.
some-
Yeah, that's okay. That's why it shows it. You click on the history, it shows something else.
Thank you. That's
That is okay. Next
coming
time you
to-
take care of it. No problem. Yeah.
okay. My problem statement was poverty. In our India, as compared to other countries, 68.8% is poverty is there. This is due to the lack of unemployment and uneducation and other things and etc. many more. Suppose if we consider an agriculture, uh, the farmer sells the vegetables or the fruits with a low market rate. Uh, and the people who are buying the things from the farmer with low cost, they're buying from the farmers with low cost, but they're selling with the markets like as DMarts, like the rich markets. They buy the same vegetables and the fruits with the high cost. It means farmers get uh, lost in their profit. If the people are buying directly from the farmers, they may get benefited. Even though people may didn't have doubt on the products, is the things are real or fake. This is the one solution for the as as perfect of agriculture. And coming to uneducation is also a one thing in India. Uneducation means people need to learn the things like parents need to support the children to study. They need to encourage. Government also provide the free education, and some of the institute also provide the free education. But parents need to support their children to study and them to motivate to learn and to make the India better. And unemployment is lack of skills. It is people have the skills but they don't have the necessary skills for the required job or a particular job. So for that, government need to provide the necessary requirements or to know the skills which are required for the particular job. People need to know the skills to get a particular job. I think I take these three situations. If the three situations are to be overcome, our India may be one step to be forward.
Very good. Very good. What is the solution? You tell the solution. Maybe I missed something. What is the solution to three problems? Where did you write that?
As like agriculture, if we directly buy vegetables from the farmer, the people
Okay.
need to buy the vegetables from the farmer. Farmers may be benefited, and
So
unemployment.
how do the people, let's say I'm a farmer, I'm in a village, I have a farm, I'm producing tomatoes or mango or whatever actually, right? How does the people know that I'm selling?
Government if the farmers need to if government should have to provide a like a scheme to register the farmers. He's selling the fruits or the vegetables he registered, then the government should have to market the farmer, and then people need to buy directly from the farmer.
It is already there, no? These kind of schemes are available, right? I mean, the others can comment. The government has this kind of markets, right? They have a day market, Saturday market, Sunday market, where farmers can come directly and people can buy, right? Correct?
Yes,
Is it
I
not already
agree.
present?
Actually, some of the villages only may be done in our. I don't know if this thing is really present, and that's where it,
Okay, okay. So it has to be done in all villages. That's what you are saying, right?
yes.
Very good, very good. Okay. Government has to enable that. Very good. What is the solution for the educational problem? What is the solution?
Educational solution is parents need to encourage their children's. Mm, it's like government or uh, need to motivate the people to study their children's.
How will you do that? Government has a lot of schemes. They give free education, free books, free meals, everything they do. Right? Free bus pass, everything they give, right? So how will you convince parents, particularly girl child, to send to school or college?
Actually, nowadays girls have more problems facing in outside. Uh, we need to provide. We need to provide and build a strong confidence level to the parents by giving lectures or else we need to tell them if our childs are studied well, they need to build a career in their own, and they need to show they didn't know need no need to uh, work as a slave in any other. We
Okay.
need to build a confidence level in the people.
The question is, how do you convince the parents? Student want to study, government is supporting,
We need,
but parents have to be convinced. So how
if
will you
the
convince your parents?
if the
Well, let's say
children is
you are a
studying,
student, let's say your parents are not allowing you to study. Let us assume, right?
sir, am I studying? I will have to convince my parents. This is how to come based on the education, sir. So education is the only thing which convince all the things which was not possible, I think.
Okay, very good. Okay, very good. I'll give you 9 out of 10. Okay, very good, Monica. Very
Sir,
different.
one of the suggestion from my side.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sir, in Delhi, sir, in public transport bus, like, sir, there is some marshal, sir.
Okay.
Government provides some marshal, sir, for if someone misbehave with women or like that. So, sir, in government bus, sir, there is some marshal, sir,
Okay.
in Delhi.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So this is also a good thing.
Then we can do that. Yeah. Sure. Very good idea. Okay. Manohar, you want to take over?
Yeah, Hari.
I'll make you as a host. Yes, one second. I'll log out. I'll make you as a host and I'll log out.
Sure, sure. Yes.
Manohar, see if you can present it.
Okay, let me see. Okay.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, I think it's visible.
You're already recording, right?
Yeah. Is everybody able to hear?
Yeah, Manohar. Manohar, I'll log out. I'll have other work to do. I'll leave.
Sure, Hari. Yeah, thank you so much.
If you have any issue, just please call me. Okay.
Sure, sure. Yes, I'll do. Yeah, okay. Good afternoon, friends. We were talking about Linux, right? So we were kind of going to give an introduction to Linux, right? So last week we studied about like generally how an operating system should be, and we talked about Unix, and we talked about how Unix kind of dominated the what do you call the mainframe market for a whole lot of time, right? So so what we'll do now is we will talk about Linux itself. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, so what is Linux? Okay, so Linux, as the name indicates. So it's basically a Unix based. So we'll see how the name originated, how it came to be known as Linux. So Linux is an open source community developed operating system, right? So basically it's open source because anybody can see the code. Okay, so in the sense that the entire code base of the Unix or the Linux operating system is available under GNU license on the web. So anybody can take a look at it. They can make modifications to it. They can improve it. They can add components to it. They can review it. They can file bugs against it and so on. So it's open source. So so many people have contributed to it, and that is one of the reasons that Linux has been a very successful operating system. It is available for servers, desktop computers, mainframes. Mainframes is where it originated. It's available for mobile devices and embedded devices. Right. So essentially, it's supported on pretty much every major computer platform. So like in all these different kinds of computing devices, different microprocessors, like you take Intel, or you take ARM, or you take let's say Apple architecture. Anywhere it can be supported. Okay. Every version, so there are different versions of Linux out there. And there is a reason for that, we will see. And pretty much all of them, they manage the hardware resources in some way. They launch and help to handle the applications. They provide some form of user interface. The way it does is varies depending on the different types of operating systems available out there, the different distributions available out there. But the core philosophy of the Linux operating system remains the same. Okay, so because of its openness, it has become like a very powerful operating system. It is available as packages. So we saw a few days back, we named different operating systems, right? So we saw things like Red Hat. People mentioning about Red Hat, Ubuntu, Fedora, etc. So all of these are nothing but distributions of Linux. Okay, and we'll see how this form of packaging helps. So if you see Windows, right? So you basically have Windows 8, 9, 10, 11, 7, whatever. But all of them come from only one organization, Microsoft. There may be slight variations for a country based Europe or China or US, but broadly it remains the same. But if you take Linux, it has so many distributions, so many varieties, and like each of us can actually develop our own version of Linux fairly easily. I mean, you have the basic kernel. You can decide what components to put together, and you can actually create a version of your Linux itself, because the code, everything is available. Correct. So that gives the power to it. Okay. We will see briefly about the history of Linux. Okay. So what we will do is we will see a small YouTube video. So that kind of captures the essence of that. And then we will come back and see how to go on top of it. Okay, so let me see. Is the video? Yeah. Okay. Is everybody able to see the screen? Are you able to see the video?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Great, fantastic. Okay. Put it on full screen.
This is the story of how one developer created an entire operating system that's been praised by developers for 3 decades. And it's a huge source of inspiration for me personally, and it starts here with Linus Torvalds. This is Linux, the origin story. Linus was just a regular student, not unlike many others, and the simple key to his success is the fact that he didn't settle for what others could make. If something wasn't good enough, he tried to make it himself and share his work with the world. Having grown up in Helsinki, Finland, Linus entered the University of Helsinki in 1988 and began his studies in computer science. After his first year, he had to go to the army, but then after around 11 months, he returned to the university to continue his studying, and it was during this time that he began the Linux project. The first online post regarding his creation of Linux dates back to the 25th of August in 1991. I'm doing a free operating system, just a hobby, won't be big and professional like GNU, for 386, 486 AT clones. Linus's interests in computers began with a Commodore VIC-20 on which he started to learn programming prior to his time in university. Initially he learned BASIC, but later he learned the machine code of the processor to access it directly, and he then bought a Sinclair QL computer and he heavily modified it, including the operating system. And due to the difficulty of getting software in Finland, he eventually ended up creating his own games and other programs, and eventually even made a Pac-Man clone. In 1990 he was introduced to the operating system Unix for the first time, and personally he started studying the Unix-like operating system Mimix, and after 1991 he bought his Intel 8386 clone of the IBM PC. And as was already common for Linus, the software available for the system was not really satisfactory. Mimix really couldn't do what he wanted it to do and was sort of limited due to its licensing. And so this is what led to the motivation behind creating the Linux project. Having become very familiar with the Unix-like operating systems, Linus started out writing a task switcher and terminal driver for his Intel processor in the spring of 1991 using the Intel x86 assembly language for the chip. This marked the beginning of the Linux project. And as shown by his very first post about Linux back in 1991, Linus was very interested in and followed very closely the open source GNU project. But as the GNU project had failed to create a stable kernel, he basically pushed forward with making his own. The kernel is in simple terms the core of an operating system that has control over the system and runs the most essential components like the processor, memory, I/O, and etc. It's what connects the user applications with the hardware. Linus actually later stated that if the GNU kernel had existed back in 1991, he never would have created the Linux project. And so on September 17th, 1991, Linus uploaded the very first version of Linux, which was named 0.0.1. And he uploaded this to a server at his university, but it still wasn't executable because it still depended on Minix for compiling. The first official version of Linux was called 0.0.2 and was released on the 5th of October in 1991, 30 years ago. It still wasn't much better than the first version, but it could run Bash, GCC, and some GNU utilities. Following the open source mentality of the GNU project, Linus shared the source code, and this led to many like-minded people joining his project, including some people from the Minix community. While the Linux kernel was very limited in its functionality, it actually worked, unlike the GNU kernel. This attracted many developers and users even in the infancy of Linux. The GNU project had created many other components for an operating system, and many of these components found their way to Linux, and therefore the Free Software Foundation refers to Linux as a GNU/Linux to give credit to the GNU project for their contribution. Another advantage was that Unix was popular in academia, so by making a Unix-like operating system, it would be easier for other students to join in. And in terms of business use, it's also turned out to be quite great. But because it was so similar to Unix, the change from Unix to Linux is quite simple, and these factors have helped Linux become so popular. With the help of the open source community, the very simple task switcher and terminal driver had turned into a real production-ready operating system. And this was marked with the release of Linux 1.0.0 in March of 1994. At that point, the Linux kernel had 176,250 lines of code. Regarding the naming of Linux, Linus actually wanted to call the operating system Freaks as a combination of the words free, freak, and X. He had considered Linux, but he thought it sounded a little bit too big-headed. So actually, if you look at some of the project's early makefiles, you will find the name Freak included. It eventually ended up being known as Linux, since Linus was the founder and the operating system is very similar to Unix. Today, the latest version of the Linux kernel is version 5, and most of the big tech companies like Intel, Huawei, and Google contribute to the development of Linux. And considering the very humble beginnings and that very first post from Linus back when he announced that he started working on Linux, it's kind of crazy to think that this whole thing has developed into this crazy, like, huge operating system that's really professional and that's being used by these huge corporations. And to me, this is such an inspiring thing because at the end of the day, this is just a story of one person who decided to make something that he thought was cool and then shared it with the world. The future of Linux looks really bright, and as of 2021, there are more than 27 million lines of code in the Linux Git repository, and all of the world's top 500 supercomputers run Linux. If you look at the top 25 websites in the world, then all but 2 run Linux. Likewise, 96% of the world's 1 million top servers and 90% of cloud infrastructure runs Linux. The most popular operating system for smartphones is Android, but Android is based on Linux, so this means that most smartphones in the world run Linux. For desktop use, some of the most popular distributions are Mint, Debian, and Ubuntu. So as you might sense, there are Linux distributions for different devices and different users, and that shows that Linux can basically run on anything. One of the reasons why Linux isn't so popular on desktops is because many applications made for Windows do not run on Linux, and Linux has also been particularly behind on gaming. In recent years, however, a lot of effort has been put into improving gaming compatibility on Linux, and according to the Steam hardware survey, Linux has grown from around 0.8% user base to around 1% in the last 3 years. This might not seem like much, but it's a very positive trend for Linux, and we might see more gamers switching to Linux in the coming years. And the great thing about the open source nature of Linux is the fact that it's free to try. So if you become excited about Linux and you want to try it, you can head over to one of the Linux distro sites and download the distro of your choice and just try it out for free, either on an old laptop that you have lying around that you're not using, or in like a virtual machine, which is something that you can run on your current laptop or computer without any real issues. I'll actually leave some links to some of my top, like the best distros that I think you should try. And yeah, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I'll see you in the next one.
Okay. So, any thoughts? Any questions?
Sir, in VLSI industry technology or sir in IT technology, sir, the Linux command is same or different, sir?
So your question is in the VLSI technology, the Linux. I couldn't get the later part of the question.
Sir, I asked that, sir, sir, Linux command is same to both or sir different, sir?
Yeah. So we saw the distributions, right? So many. So what happens is this. So let's say we are 12 people here, right? So let's say 20 people come together and then we have an application. So we think Linux will be good for our application, but we don't have a distribution which will suit our purpose, let's say. Okay. So what we do is it's an open source, right? So it's a GNU project. You go and take the kernel, you compile it, you write your own applications, you write your drivers. Let's say you add some new hardware. Let's say you put some radar, some fancy application. Let's say you're making. Let's say you're coming up with a new system which will work on zero gravity, let's say. So there are so many things that you need to do. So you can just use the Linux kernel, create your own distribution. Let's say we create our own distribution, and that people start, because we are taking it from a free open source foundation, GNU, right? We are required to make it free. So everybody should be able to use our operating system. So that makes it popular, right? So Ubuntu is a distribution. Let's say Ubuntu is one example, and it's a distribution very suitable for desktop computers. Similarly, Android, Google took the Linux kernel and created Android, and today pretty much whatever, like 70–80% of the smartphones use Android, right? So EDA, what happened was EDA needed a lot of common batch processing requirements. Let's say if you want to do place and route, or if you want to simulate 1 million transistor processor, right? So you need not, you can't just do with one single processor. You need to run the simulation software on multiple servers, right? And Linux supports this multi-server, server farm kind of application. So there are distributions which are very suitable. For example, we saw about Red Hat, right? So Red Hat has something called Red Hat Enterprise Linux, RHEL, right? So if you see, most of the EDA tools will provide their support for RHEL or SUSE or Ubuntu, or not Ubuntu, CentOS, which are all like meant for enterprise version of Linux. So these are the distributions which support multiple users, multiple machines. So for example, today I run one test on one particular design, right? And let's say 100 people run 100 different tests. They can all file their requests. The test will be run on some other machine. They may not even know where it is running, but the results will be available on their desktop, right? So this kind of applications, there are distributions available. But the basic core philosophy of the operating system, the basic look and feel, the basic command line is the same. So if for example, whatever I can do on Ubuntu version of Linux, I can do on Red Hat Linux also. I can run VI, or I can run my simulating software. I can do disk-to-disk copy. So many things I can do. So yeah, to answer your questions briefly, yes, the command line interface is same, but not just the command line. The basic soul of the operating system is same, whether you do like whether you run it on Android, or whether you run Ubuntu, or whether you run Red Hat Linux, right? The kernel is the same, and basic principles are all the same. Any other thoughts? Does that answer your question, Sohail?
Yes, sir.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, so that was an inspiring video, right? So people, if they find that something is not like we saw in the previous session, we saw all of you coming up with the one problem of your own and trying to find a solution, right? So here is a person who found that the Unix was not conducive to so many applications. So he sat out and worked on it, and he came up with his own implementation, right? And this is kind of popular for so many people across the globe are today using it, right? So such a inspiring story, actually, Linux, right? So any thoughts, any of you? Or any questions? Or let's say let's do this. So we just go around the table, and each of you should at least tell one point from the video. Whatever you got from that 8-minute video, right? We definitely want to keep this interactive, right? So that will also help us to kind of everyone can be on the same page. We can discuss if there are any questions, we can discuss. So let us do that way. Okay. So who goes first? Should we start in this order, Niharika, or whatever I see on the screen? or was it Alekia? Any of you?
It was
Linux
Linux
version is
first.
Okay, let's
Linux-
start with Mamata first.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Linus first thought to give it a name as Freaks,
Uh-huh.
as it is free and free plus Freak plus X, which is similar to Unix.
Right.
Later, it didn't work out, and he gave it as a Linux, which means Linux plus X, which is similar to Unix.
Unix, yes. Yeah. So Linux is based on Unix, and I mean, it is one big product, right, where the name of the creator has stuck on, and people remember that, right? So yeah, that's a very good point. Yes. Next.
Linux version is 0.01.
Yes, Harika. Yeah, that was the first version. So do you know what is the current version of the kernel for Linux, which everybody uses? It was mentioned in the video, right?
Fifth version.
Fifth, yes, that's right. Great, yeah. Yeah, Alekia, you want to say something?
Linux was very famous as it is open source.
Right. Good. Next. Monica, over there. Guru Mohan.
So it is open source software. Everyone can modify and everyone can use this software by update applications.
Correct. Yes, very good. That's a very good point. It's open source. So two things. So one, it's an open source, and two is it's free, right? So like you don't have to pay money like Windows, right? So you just go to a site, you can download the operating system, you can load it on your desktop, or if you're creating, let's say, your own hardware, let's say you're creating a RISC-V computer tomorrow. You can readily use Linux distribution. You can try to run. In fact, many hardware processor projects, right, microprocessor or microcontroller projects, they use Linux for testing. So if you're able to boot Linux on your hardware, on your ASIC, that's a wonderful achievement, right? Because there are so many rules and so many things you have to as a computer architecture, right? There are so many assumptions that needs to be done. So yes, yeah, it's a very good point. Yes, next. Vaidyanathan is there.
Yes.
Yeah, please. Any questions or thoughts from the video? You're not able to hear. You want to be a bit louder? You can come closer to the microphone.
Sir,
Yeah.
Linux is an open source and free to access. Am I right, sir?
That's right.
Is another reason we are using Linux?
So one is it is based on a already successful operating system, right? Which is Unix, and there are so it is fairly reliable, and because it is open source, multiple experts have contributed to it, and we can find very high quality. So for example, if you take networking, right? So yeah, Linux is very strong in the networking. So either you can be a client, you can be a server, right? Even let's say standalone routers, right? Let's say you are D-Link or your TP-Link router, which is there in let's say if you have a Wi-Fi, right? It is very much possible that the kernel core is based on Linux, right? So right. So essentially the basic fundamental is that since it's free and publicly available, everybody can contribute to it, and over the years it has evolved so well. Correct. And the another reason I would say, in fact, two more reasons. One is it's based on C, which itself is a very powerful language for low level operating items, right? So things like whether it's a file system or whether it is text processing or it's arithmetic or even pointers, right? So basic using pointers based operations, you can access the hardware very easily. So the portion of your software which is closest to the hardware, right? C is very conducive for that. So that could also be one of the reasons why it became so popular. And it came from a like Unix itself, if you see, right, it came from industry and university, right? So once inside a university, right, so there's a huge mass of people who are in quest of knowledge. So they want to try, they want to experiment. So anything that comes in the market, hardware, right, you can be rest assured that there is a Linux driver for it. Let's say somebody comes up with a mouse, or let's say somebody makes a camera. You can be rest assured that there will be a Linux driver for it within 2-3 months. So that way it has become very widely available. Particularly if you really see the developer and the what do you call the engineering world, Linux is the number one. I mean, people do use Windows for other things like email or in fact Linux also has a very good mailing and other things. But in terms of, let's say, the user interface, right, somehow Microsoft has been able to come in as a desktop operating system. So there are some people who think that only if you pay for something you will get a good proper support and everything. And people who are not very computer savvy or they cannot tweak or hack a few things, right? They think that Windows is much more user friendly, but there are distributions which are like for example, if you take Ubuntu, if you take, it has a good GUI and whatever you can do with Windows or even Mac, you could do with Linux. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any other thoughts before we move on?
As nowadays every mobile has Android,
Uh-huh.
that Android is based on the Linux operating system itself.
Yes, that's true. That's right. So what Google did was they felt that Linux can be a very good mobile operating system, and they created Android, and they made it again open source and freely available, so that all smartphone sellers, for example, they can save a lot on software licensing. So the reason why we can get smartphones today at very low costs, I mean, it is still higher than your basic mobile, true, but that's more of hardware and other things, software applications and all. But the core operating systems itself is free. So that's the reason why even smartphones have kind of you can see, right, there are so many Android phones out there, like from companies like China, Korea. There are so many, even basic low end phones which come for like 6,000, 7,000 rupees. They have Android and they are fairly usable systems. Correct. So yes, so that's a very good point. Okay. Okay, you can continue asking the questions or thoughts. You can raise your hand. So we will probably move on. Was there a chat somewhere? No. Okay. So this is what we saw. It was based. It was created by Linus Torvalds, and it is based on GNU project license, which means it's free and open source. 0.0.1 released in 1991. 1.0 came in 1994. And it was based on, it was named Linux for this reason, right? So this world's fastest top 500 supercomputers, right? We saw they run on Linux. Most of the clouds and web servers, cloud computing platforms, they support Linux. Android is based on Linux. It's reliable, secure, community support. It supports a wide variety of hardware and peripherals, right? So all these we saw. So just let's take a minute and see how the Linux itself is arranged. There are more complex versions or descriptions of how it is done, but I thought I'll just try to put a very what do you call a simplified view of what it is. So we have this hardware which is at the innermost core of the system. So hardware is nothing but your processor, your memory, your input-output devices, right? So you have your keyboard, you have your display, you have network, Ethernet, you have USB, you have all these input-output, and then you have the processor and memory. And then you have this. So this is the kernel. So kernel is the core of the operating system. And then we have what is called shell. You might have heard of the Unix shell. We have some things like C shell or K shell, different shell are there. So shell is nothing but a layer again, which comes in between the kernel and the application. So the shell is nothing but your Linux command line interpreter. So Linux, historically Unix and Linux, right, both came from a period of time, right, where there were not even displays, right? So you saw this system right here. Okay, so you have a keyboard and you have a printer kind of device where you can at the most see one line at a time. So you type something that will be printed out. The output of the computer itself will be printed out as one line at a time. So the command line was the only possible way of entering commands to the system, correct? So today you see there are so many ways you can interact with the computer. You can click on an icon, you can move the various windows, you can directly go to one particular character here, I can just modify it here. Those things are not possible during that time, right? So you had a command line where you can only type one line of command at a time. So the shell kind of evolved as a command line interpreter. So what it will do is whatever the user enters first, it will go to the shell. The shell, these are all again software. So the kernel is a software component. The shell is also a software component. So the shell will take that command and it will try to see what it is. So if it is an inbuilt Linux command, it will execute that command, give control to that command, and that command will be executed. Or let's say you have your own application and it is available in the path. Right? So then what it will happen, the shell will give command control to that particular application, and then that application will take over. So we will see the examples of what kind of applications, what different command lines we will see. But essentially, this is how it is structured. So we saw the kernel version 5, right? So that is basically this one. So kernel sits close to the hardware. It has the drivers for every kind of hardware device. And then it kind of has the interaction with the shell. So there are all various what is called system calls through which the shell can interact with the kernel and get your job done. We will see all those details as we go along. Okay. So one thing to tell here is so the way this has been depicted, right? So it's like a shell is nothing. So if you take the Linux as a seed, right? So the innermost is the kernel. So if you have a coconut, right? If you take coconut fruit, the innermost portion of the fruit, right? It is called the kernel, right? So that is the reason why it is also called the kernel. So it is kind of the core of the system. Okay. Okay, so we saw some of these. We saw that Linux can be used for web servers, database, file server, email, and other shared applications. Linux has been very popular for desktop personal computing. Embedded device, we saw Android. Then for routers, name servers, home networking devices, cloud computing, enterprise servers. EDA is a very good example of using Linux in an enterprise environment, right? Where there are multiple developers, multiple testers, they need to exchange information. They need to, so whatever the design people come up with their RTL design, right? The verification people have to run tests on it. So there is so much of sharing and collaboration work that happens, and the distributions, there have been distributions which have come, which are very suitable for this. And if I remember right, earlier EDA tools were either totally mainframe based or they were totally based for desktop Windows based. But probably, let's say around towards the last part of previous century, like 98 to 2000, right? That time frame, Red Hat came up with this Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And since that time, most of the EDA tools like Synopsys, Cadence, they brought in support for the simulators. So for example, your VCS simulator or Cadence simulator for Verilog or System Verilog, all of those are available in any EDA tool you take today that has a Linux version. That is, and that's one of the reasons why you're spending so much time to get familiarized with this operating system. And this also is very suitable for like building things on one on top of the other. For example, you have this simulator that throws in a lot of data output, and for like a 10 million gate design, so much of output will be generated by the EDA tools. And using Linux, we can do a lot of text-based filtering. Like you can do sort, you can look at specific portions of the text, and you can come up with your own additional software. You can write scripts, shell scripts they are called. You can write Python scripts. You can do a lot of text processing, and then you can summarize or you can process the raw data and make it suitable for example, I am running 10,000 tests on a hardware, or let's say I'm running 10,000 tests on my new web server. So the outputs of 10,000 tests, let's say some 100 tests failed. We have to analyze the failure reports of all those 100. So we may have to write a lot of programs on top of the tests themselves, right? So like scripts and other utilities, right? So the Linux server becomes very suitable for this. So the output of the one program can be easily fed into the input of the other program, and you can actually build an hierarchy of your own application suites, so that somebody who wants to look at coverage can look at coverage. Somebody wants to look at test results, they can see that the upper management can see the progress of the project and so on. Okay. So all of this we will go in detail. I'm just giving a very brief introduction. That's why I'm trying to go slightly fast. Stop me if you feel you have a question. Okay. So we saw this distribution philosophy. So GNU philosophy says that anything taken for free and modified should be distributed for free, right? So that's why we have pretty much every distribution of Linux out there can be downloaded or can be bought, can be taken in a CD. Maybe you may have to provide the cost of the CD alone, but the software itself is free. In fact, you used to buy books on EDA or operating systems. Like there are times when you would get a free CD along with it, and most likely 99% out of 100, right? You can be assured that it will be an Ubuntu CD distribution. So that's how the Ubuntu software becomes so popular. Okay, I will stop here. There are some concepts which we can go through. Any questions you want to ask at this point in time?
Sir, can we have more than one operating system in a single computer?
You can definitely have. There is a concept called virtual machine, right? So you can have one operating system active, and then you can load multiple operating systems. In fact, I was going to show Ubuntu on a virtual machine. I'll see if I can do that. Yeah, so I was running Ubuntu on a background machine in the same machine, in fact, as a background software. So just let me know if you are able to see
One is
this.
fast Windows or Linux?
Could you please repeat the question?
Sir, which one is fast, sir? Windows or Linux, Ubuntu?
Yeah, I'll come to that. Very good question. Actually, I'll answer this just after this. Okay. Just see if you're able to see this screen out here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is a Ubuntu system. Yeah. So this is the Ubuntu screen. So I'm not sure if you're able to see it's Ubuntu running on an Oracle virtual box. So you could Google about this, but or we can talk about virtual machines at some point in time. So essentially, what it allows is it basically encompasses one operating system as a process. So inside my Windows, so I was running Windows, but I can run Ubuntu also as another process. So this is like a virtual machine. We'll talk about it in detail. But yes, to answer your question, we can have two operating systems running on the same computer. But typically, what they do is at boot up time you can decide, because here what happens is the two operating systems are sharing the same resources, so you cannot have. So there can be some conflict. So what they do is they allocate some portion of the disk space, they allocate some portion of the memory for this virtual machine, which means the Windows, that much amount of memory or CPU power will not be available. So that can slow down certain things. So for quickly trying out the things, I don't have to reboot the machine, correct? Or I don't have to start another computer. I don't need another hardware typically. So I can keep this in background and then only run it when I want. So that is the reason why this is available. But ideally, what if you want to learn Linux, right, completely, you totally shut down the Windows. You can have Linux in another partition of your hard disk. So we'll go through that process also, so that you can try that if you want to try experiment at a later date when we have gone through many of the concepts, right? If you want to experiment, we can see how to install Linux on a separate partition and bring it up at boot time, right? When you power on, you can press one of the function keys and then you can select whether you want Unix or Linux or Windows or any other operating system. Okay, that answers the question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I had one question. So I understand that some desktops or laptops have been shipped, right? So have any of you tried powering up that machine and are so because they were all loaded with Ubuntu. So has anybody tried? Were any instructions given to kind of power it up and see to load it or to boot up Linux or anything?
Yes, sir, I have an issue with that opening.
Okay.
That is showing grub option,
Okay.
but it is not opening. It is when I say boot, it is asking you have to give the kernel first.
Okay.
So I just
Okay.
kept it aside, and I asked Sampath sir.
Uh-huh.
Sir said that I have to reinstall the Linux or virtual machine.
Oh, I see. Okay. So the laptop came with only Linux, is it, or does it have Windows also? Probably
I
it came
think
only with Linux, right? So
yes, sir. It is with Linux.
Okay. So the grub is what I mentioned as the boot up time, right? So you'll have. So does it display any Linux operating system in the grub menu or?
No, sir, it is showing only grub. So what I did is I restart the laptop and I pressed the F2 button.
Okay.
So it showed the options, boot up options, advanced options. So at that, when I selected that, it's showing me two options, that Ubuntu and another is the name called Sita or anything something.
Okay. So did you select Ubuntu?
Yes, sir, I select Ubuntu, but there are some options below that. It is upload default files, open, or exit. Apply and exit. I clicked on Ubuntu and I said apply, but it is not working. It's not showing any result.
I see. Okay. Okay. Sure. Okay. So yeah, maybe we could have one offline session. We can set up an offline session. We can try to see how to resolve that issue. Okay. So maybe you can just take so when it shows that 4 options, right? You can probably take a snapshot of it. We can take a picture of it and we can probably send it. We can see how to. If Sampath is already helping you, that's good. But if you're stuck, just you can send this information. We can see how to resolve. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Sure. Okay. Anybody else try to run that? Has anybody been able to run Ubuntu? Are they able to see this maroon purple screen with an octopus image? That's a Ubuntu trademark.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
But sometimes it's getting logged off, sir, and it's asking for a password, but I don't know the password.
Okay. Did it allow you to set the password? Does it show this screen where you can run multiple commands and stuff like that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So sometimes it's allowing you to work. Sometimes it's going off. Is it? Is that what it is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I think this problem should be easily solvable. So you will have to, I think, go as a system admin, create a new user, and essentially there is a password command also. So we could. So what we'll do is we will be. I think we will quickly complete the theoretical part of the rest of the slides, 3-4 slides next week, 5-10 minutes. Then we will go through a complete session next Sunday, where we will try to go through all the issues. We will walk through a complete Ubuntu session, see how to access the various applications, how to go through the command line, we have a bunch of command lines which we will learn, right? So we will go through a complete session next week. But in the meantime, if we maybe we could, if you can give me some further details or maybe even a snapshot of your screen, I can tell you how to set up the password and things like that. So okay.
Okay,
Sure.
sir.
Sure. Okay. Okay. We have 3 minutes more. Any other thoughts?
Sir, I have Windows operating system. How can I install Linux? Some bus are saying download virtual machine. How can I download? Which version can I download?
Okay. Yeah. So I'll give you detailed. I'll give you a link which will have a detailed instructions. So effectively, what you have to do is you have to install what is called Oracle Virtual Box. Okay. So yeah, I mean, just for understanding, okay, you can Google and find out. But effectively, you download Oracle Virtual Box. You download Ubuntu distribution, latest distribution. I think it's 20.1 or something. 22.1, I think. And
If you have a time to, if you have a time, can you guide me to how to install that one?
sure, definitely. Just put a reminder in the classroom. So we will have a session. We can do that. So anybody else who wants to install Ubuntu on a system which already has Windows, let's say you want to try the virtual machine, just let me know. We can have a session where we can do that as well. So any of the late evening or something when all of you guys are free, we can set up that session. Sure, definitely. In the meantime, I'll definitely give the link. You go through it and understand it. Then we will have this session also. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, we are almost on time. So yeah, if you have any question, we can take one more. You can continue putting the questions. I think there is a Slack channel also opened. So there is a academic session, right? So join that session compulsorily and start putting your question, because I'll be putting some notes there. So things which I think are useful, I'll start putting there. So please join the channel and start putting the questions. And I'm not only related to Linux, anything related to the classes that we are having right here, including Hariji's class, right? So any question related to this, you keep putting there and we will have a better interaction. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for the time. We will meet next week. I'll send out the assignments. Yeah. So quickly on the assignments, I think a good number of people have turned it in. People who have not yet sent in, please do so. I think tomorrow evening or Tuesday evening is the deadline for that. I will evaluate all the completed ones and I'll go through it. I'll send you. I'll revert back on that. And for those who are not yet sent in, please do send it in before the deadline. It's very, very important. And I will also send out one more assignment for this week. Okay. Thank you for your time. We'll meet next week. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, sir.